This is Rob Tebutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined for the first time in a long time by Stitch Duran, legendary CUTMAN, cornerman, boxing, MMA aficionado. How are you, sir? Nice to see you, Stitch.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Rob. Thanks, man. There's crazy times, but seems that we're managing and trying to do the best thing possible. So had my second shot. So as a matter of fact, after we finish here, I got called last night to go to Mayweather's gym. Floyd Sr. is training this one music artist, and they want him to go wrap his hands. So, after I took my second shot, this is the first time I've really gone out in public outside of working shows in the bubble. So, things are looking good.
So that's not a new thing for you, obviously. Despite as well as training MMA guys and boxers, some of the biggest names in both sports over the years. The last time I would have seen you, or one of the last times I would have seen you, you were with KSI, and you'd been kind of working with some of the YouTuber guys. What can you tell us about this new star that you're working with, Stitch?
Yeah, I don't know. I just got the call last night. It's the guy that sings. I'm not a singer, but by any means, I got 5 on it or something like that. So you got 5 on it, that guy. So I don't know, but I got the call to see if I'd go wrap his hands, and it's a good opportunity to get out. And I haven't been to the gyms, since this pandemic kicked in. So really, this could be my first time just walking into a gym. But the Mayweather gym and all the other gyms in Vegas, they're using the proper protocols. So yeah, feel good to go just get back to work.
What's that been like for you? Because obviously we've seen you as one of the designated cutsmen for the top ranked shows in the top ranked bubble inside of Las Vegas. But very, very different set up to what you've been customarily used to in the past. What was that whole experience like, working in the bubbles and being in the quarantine, etc.?
Yeah, well, working without an audience, I'm accustomed to that, because when I did the tough reality show for the UFC, they were without an audience, right? But going into a bubble at the MGM and being restricted from the public, I did an interview, and I said it was more like the boxing version of Shawshank Redemption. Basically you're in a pretty nice prison. You're on lockdown. The only time you could go out is to go eat, go to the weigh-ins, go to the fights, and then you're back in your room. So, I did 26 shows with them in last year. And I did the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones show. I worked with Badu Jack. So I've done 27 shows, and we're off this month. And we start up again April the 10th, when Joe Smith, one of the fighters I work with, is fighting some Russian guy.
How excited are you to be able to get back out and get to the gyms? As I mentioned, the last time I was seeing you would have been City Gym in Las Vegas, but I know you frequent a lot of the gyms a lot of the time. How excited are you to get back out there?
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked, man. Once I hang up with you, then I'll get my keys and get a bottle of water and get in my car and then cruise up there. So yeah, just to get back to a little bit of normalcy. That's the main thing, Rob, is just, things are getting better here. And, I've been blessed. And so I'm looking forward to going over there and just getting the smell of a gym.
Now, one of the last times I saw you would have been, I can't remember when exactly it was. This whole last year has been an absolute blur. But one of the last times I spoke to you was for Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury rematch in Las Vegas, when we sat down and had a catch up. Obviously, a lot's happened in the world since then. I actually haven't spoken to you since that day. So I haven't spoken to you since the fight. I appreciate it was a long time ago now, but where did that rank that night at the MGM Grand with Tyson Fury, with some of the massive fights that you've been in over the years?
Yeah, Rob, I've really been blessed with all the events that I've been able to work, that historical events, right? And but to work with Tyson Fury as a one-on-one against Deontay Wilder, under the circumstances of the pre-hype to the fight and all that, to me was pretty awesome. But Tyson Fury and his team, just to work with them, was definitely different. They're all first-class people, and they welcomed me with open arms, and just it was awesome. And I tell you, one of the things that really kind of took up to the top is, I'm in the dressing room, so I see when Tyson puts the crown on and when he puts the robe on, and then they tell us it's time to walk, right? Well, they tell the corner team, you guys wait for him up in the ring. Well, that's as much as I knew. And then when I see him walking out in one of these thrones, brother, I just started laughing to myself. I said, you know what, this is pretty classical, man. So, and then, for him to fight the way he did, it was quite exceptional. So it ranks up there definitely is one of the top five. And like I said, I've had hundreds of them. So I'm glad to have been part of that history.
You mentioned there kind of that second, and this is one of the things that I've kind of missed. Admittedly, I'm not in the dressing rooms anywhere near as often as you are, but that initial period, or that I always say it's the 15 seconds from when the referee meets the fighters in the middle of the ring and the fighters walk back to the corners. That electricity, you can't beat that. That night at the MGM Grand was one of those nights. What was it like being in and amongst it that night? As I say, it's almost alien to think about a full packed out MGM Grand now, considering everything that's happened.
Yeah, it's pretty electrifying at that point, when they give the instructions and they walk back in, and then we walk down to the bottom of our where we're sitting at. At that point, I start getting my stuff ready. I always prepare for the worst case scenario, and definitely, with Tyson Fury, based on the cut that he had before. So I prepared myself for that. But just to hear the buzz of the audience, it's nothing like it. It's like when Klitschko fought Anthony Joshua at Wembley, and it was so loud that literally it just buzzed. And I got the same effects with the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. You have to be there in that position to really understand the effects of what an audience brings to the table.
Now, since that night, seemingly all of that time ago, we've seen some interesting things come out from Deontay Wilder regarding Tyson Fury's preparation and Tyson Fury during the fight. Now, admittedly, as far as I'm aware, none of those accusations were leveled at you directly. But as a member of Team Fury on the night, what have you made of the suggestions, the accusations that have come out from Team Wilder since?
Yeah, you kind of hear it all the time, Rob, when somebody loses under those type of circumstances. To me, it was all bullshit. It's kind of feeling sorry for yourself and really disrespects yourself. And when you understand what goes on behind the scenes, then you could see why it was just a farce. It was just trying to, climb up the wrong tree. But you have inspectors there. And then, Deontay Wilder had his manager in the dressing room. So he got to see everything that we did. And not only that, but listen, man, we do everything by the book. And, that theory of he took his hand out of the glove to punch, to me, a guy that wraps thousands and thousands of hands, it makes no sense. Because why would you want to take your hand out of the glove when it's in a position where you could actually hurt yourself? But then in the same token, if you ever put a glove on and then you wrap the tape around it like we do with the commission, it's impossible for you to move your hand out of the glove. So all that was wrong. What he did to his coach, Breland, I thought was wrong. And I think as I was walking out, I did an interview with BBC, and they asked me that. And I said, that's just totally wrong, because I knew, like in the fifth round, I told Sugar, because I had worked with Sugar before, and Andy Lee, through Emmanuel Stewart, worked through that system. And I looked at the corner and I said, man, they're going to stop the fight down the road. And I think 2 rounds later, they ended up stopping the fight, which was the right thing to do, because, Rob, when you look at injuries, you look at short-term injuries or you look at long-term injuries. Long-term injuries are more dangerous than the short-term injuries. Short-term is a broken bone, a cut, things you could repair. But when you have the long-term injuries, those are the dementia pugilistica, the punch-drunk syndrome. And those are things that take an effect down the road. I remember when Andre Durrell fought Esquiriga, I stopped the fight because the doctors were looking at it. I asked him, I said, do you want to continue? The doctors are looking at stopping the fight. And he kind of said no, and I stopped the fight. And nobody understood, but he did. Next day, he called me and says, him and his wife, he says, thank you, man. I just had nothing in me. So my job is there to protect the fighters. And that's exactly what happened. So that was a bunch of bull. And it's disrespectful to the game. And it was disrespectful to Tyson Fury and the team.
When you're in that kind of that pressure cooker environment, how important is it to have somebody such as yourself? And this isn't, I'm not necessarily talking about Deontay Wilder in this instance, but how important is it to have somebody experienced, somebody who knows the game, somebody who knows what the potential, this is the deadliest sport in the world. There's fatalities in boxing. There was fatalities in 2020, 2019. How important is it to have somebody in there who's looking out for the interest of the fighter?
Oh, it's 100%. And the thing about it is you have to understand the mentality of a fighter. They're modern day gladiators, but deep inside they're all babies, right? And my job is to take care of that baby and to be truthful. And so, yeah, it's extremely important because, you got to protect themselves from themselves. You got to protect them from themselves and understand the heart and soul of a warrior. But yeah, I've been through a lot of battles like that, and taking care of a lot of fighters.
Now, you've mentioned, we've mentioned kind of the raucous atmosphere that night at the MGM Grand. You've mentioned the brilliant atmosphere of Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. You know where this is going. There's a lot of talk about Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Now, what a massive fight that would be to be involved in, Stitch.
Oh yeah, of course. It's the fight of this year. It has to happen. The point is where it's going to happen. I know they've been talking about. I just read an article yesterday about Las Vegas, and Las Vegas. I think we're going now to 50% capacity. So if this happens down the road, that maybe the arenas will be at 100% capacity. They're looking at the United Arab Emirates. So we'll see. But no, I think it's a hell of a fight. And people ask me, well, how do you see this fight? And normally, me as a cut man, because I try to be neutral, but I'm logical. I look at the facts and not the promotional part of it. But when Tyson Fury fought Vladimir, that knowing Vladimir's skills and seeing what Tyson Fury was bringing to the table, I thought it was going to be a very easy fight for Vladimir. But as I saw him fight Deontay Wilder the first time, I saw his style, and his style is very, very unpredictable. And you can't teach anybody how to fight against it. You can't teach anybody how to fight like that. So Tyson Fury's own style is his own style, and I think that's the worst kind of guy that you want to fight. He's not your basic fundamentalist guy.
You mentioned there about Las Vegas opening up to 50% capacity is one of the things I wanted to speak to you about. That's got to be a huge thing for boxing moving forward. The fact that we've not had Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the epicenter of combat sports, not just boxing. But it'll be huge for boxing to be able to have that. And we've got Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez at the end of May going to Las Vegas. He's gone. He's back again.
Yeah.
Great for the sport to see things open up in Las Vegas. What's it been like in Las Vegas while there's been nothing on? It must have been something of a ghost town.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, even the casinos were closed, and once they opened up the casinos, all the nightclubs, the entertainment, all that brings resources to Las Vegas were closed. So now they're starting to open up the restaurants, or opening up the casinos and a little bit more. And so it's slowly but surely getting back to normal.
One of the things that I most enjoy about going to Las Vegas, I've mentioned already, is going to the gyms, seeing fighters in the gyms, young fighters mixing with professionals, ex-pros. You can see a 7, 8, 9-year-old amateur training alongside a world champion in gyms in Las Vegas. I want to talk to you about the young hotshots in Las Vegas, who I know you would have seen or heard of. The lightweight division at the minute is absolutely on fire in the sport. How great is it for boxing to have all of those young stars? I know you would have heard or certainly seen the likes of Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, all around that Las Vegas hotbed of sparring. Brilliant time to be a lightweight in boxing.
Yeah, no, it is. And, Teofimo and his dad, they've been at the bubble, at the top rank shows. They made the move to Vegas, and to see Devin Haney and to see Tank and all that, Ryan Garcia, you got Orlando, that is there also. And so you got all the young talent. That's the new generation that's going up. These are the guys that are behind the Spence and Earl Spence and all these guys, Terrence Crawford. This is the new generation that's coming up. It'd be nice if we could see something like that in the heavyweight division, but I'll take these guys right now as it comes.
You mentioned kind of Teofimo and all of those other guys. Any in particular early memories of those guys?
No, outside of I was there when Teofimo fought Lomachenko, and I mean I'm like 15 feet away from the ring and I'm watching it, and I just can't understand the logic between by Lomachenko, and that's why it's important to have a good team to guide you. And I was a little taken aback of why he used that type of style, but no, I've seen Tank and I've seen Devin Haney train in the gym, and they're right on it, man. So. Even Rolando Romero, he's the guy that's knocking guys out, and he's kind of another guy that's in the quiet storm. So it's nice to see the young generation doing well.